On Monday of 26 February, Indian Air Force entered into Pakistan. The Indian Air Force, with tall jets of Mirage 2000, has entered into Pakistan to bomb a terrorist camp on Ballcote. While the Indian Air Force jets entered and dropped bombs into the place of Ballcote, Pakistani Air Force jets of F16 had a dogfight with Indian Air Force. Indian Air Force, however, returned safely to India. Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan warned and said Pakistan will retaliate for India's intrusion into Pakistan. Like he said, on Tuesday, 27th of February 2019, on morning, Pakistan Air Force F16 jets launched its attack on an empty ground on Indian side. While India was in full alert around the country, launched its attack on Pakistani Air Force jets near Indian Pakistan border in Kashmir. Indian again entered into Pakistan airspace and the dogfight continued as one of India's jets were shot down and one of its pilots were captured by the Pakistani army. India has confirmed it is missing one of its pilots and one of its MiG-21 was destroyed on the dogfight that morning. Pakistan has said they have shot down two of its jets and captured two of its pilots, but only one of the pilots was shown alive and healthy in its videos. Pakistani military spokesperson Major General Asif Ghafoor said there is only one pilot under Pakistan Army's custody. The Wing Command Abhinandan is being treated as norms of the military ethics. As the tensions between the two countries is escalating towards war, US, Russia, UK and China are showing support to India and condemned Pakistan to stop feeding its country-based terrorists.
对于最近在印巴争议地区发生的事件，中方赞赏印度还有巴基斯坦的朋友们都表示愿意保持克制，避免局势进一步的升级。
Well, the press secretary of the Russian President Dmitry Peskov told Russia is concerned about the aggravations of the relations between India and Pakistan and calls on both sides to show restraint. While Pakistani has called for diplomacy to calm down the situation through dialogue, Pakistani PM Imran Khan has offered as a peace to release the arrested pilot or the captured pilot of Indian Air Force by tomorrow or March 1st. While India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj visited China for the RAC annual meeting with China and Russia, she detailed and warned the Pakistan for its acting and feeding grounds for terror. India and Pakistan have banned each other's airspace not to use for commercial services. In India, all the borders are in alert, including the Bangladeshi borders, and most of its airports are closed without further notice in North India. This is the first intrusion and the attack inside Pakistan soil by the Indian armed forces after 1971 in the Indo-Pak War. All the opposition parties have given their statement by standing with their countries on crisis in India, but warning this type of national security crisis should not be used by the Indian PM Mr. Modi for his election dreams for winning, as Mr. Modi is doing and using it for the upcoming general elections. Many of the army personnel and retired military personnel have said it seems that the governing party of India and the PM Modi is using security and surgical strikes and national security crisis as of for his election dreams of winning.
There was too much sort of hype over it. The military operation was important. The strike was important. It had a strategic intent and purpose, and we had to do it. Now, how and how much it should have been politicized, whether it was right or wrong, is something I think you should ask the politicians.
Well, the Indian Navy has said the Navy is ready on its surface, sea and air to prevent and defeat any misadventure by the Pakistan. As US President Donald Trump was in Hanoi in Vietnam meeting Kim Jong-un of Korea, he said on his press conference that reasonably attractive news from India and Pakistan might be coming. We have been involved in trying to help them, that is India and Pakistan, to stop, and we have some reasonably decent news. I think hopefully that the tension could be coming to an end. It has been going on for a long time. And on the other side, Prime Minister Imran Khan of Pakistan has said In our desire of peace, I announced that, and as of the first step to the open negotiations, Pakistan will release the Indian Air Force officer in our custody by tomorrow, that is March 1st of 2019, said Imran Khan on his parliamentary speech. So what do you think of India and Pakistan having a dogfight in the Indian and the Pakistani Air Force? Do you think India and Pakistan might go to war, or this might be a misunderstanding between both the countries and they might be ready to talk to each other and de-escalate what's going on? India's ascent on the global stage has claimed another victory after its stock market overtook Germany to become the 7th largest in the world. India edged past the equity market of Europe's largest economy for the first time in 7 years, according to data compiled by the Bloomberg. That means after UK leaves the European Union in the March, the bloc would have only one country, France, among the 7 biggest markets. The move reflects India's positive return this year as the company's reliance on domestic demand enabled them to avoid the meltdown in other emerging markets spurred by the Federal Reserve tightening and a trade war between the US and China. It also highlights the challenges facing the European Union, including its future relationship with the UK, a standoff with Italy over the budget allocations and separatist clashes in Spain. While the MSCI Emerging Markets Index is heading for a 17% decline this year, India's benchmark S&P BSE Sensex is up 5% after seesawing throughout the year amid the oil price volatility. In the year dominated by the trade protectionism and punitive tariff by the Donald Trump's President of United States administration on China, it's little bit wonder that investors have turned cautious over countries with heavy dependence on the exports. Germany derives more than 38% of its gross domestic product from exports based on 2017 data from the World Bank. The corresponding ratio for India is only 11%, meaning much of the stock market opportunity in the country comes from the domestic consumer stories. Reliance on the local demand and entrepreneurship also puts India ahead in growth sweepstakes. The South Asian nation is projected to grow 7.4% this year and 7.3% in 2019, as a far cry from German growth of 1.6% for each year, while 7.5% and the 7.3% coming in next year is basically less than before and before decades and before 2 to 3 years while Modi became the Prime Minister of India. So what do you think of India's growth? Is much higher than other countries, but it's basically lower than its India's original GDP when Prime Minister Modi took over the government from other Congress party. President Xi Jinping of China warned on Tuesday that no one can dictate China's economic development path as the country's Communist Party marked 40 years of its historic reform and opening up new policies amid a strained challenge from the United States. In a speech at the grandiose Great Hall of People, Xi Jinping owed to the press that Beijing will not deviate from its one-party system or take orders from any other country. The great banner of socialism has always been flying high over the Chinese land, said Xi Jinping. The leaders of the Communist Party of China is the most essential feature of the socialism with Chinese characteristics and the great advantage of the socialist system with Chinese characteristics. Making reforms enact under her late paramount leader Deng Xiaoping on December 18, 1978, came as the Chinese is locked in a diplomatic spat and a bruising trade war with the United States. The rivals have agreed to 90-day truce as they seek to negotiate a solution, with the United States seeking a reduction in its massive trade deficit as well as a deeper reforms in China to stop the alleged theft of intellectual property. Without directly referring to the United States, Xi Jinping said that China poses no threat to any country but warned that it would not be pushed around. No one is in a position to dictate to Chinese people what should or should not be done. While Xi Jinping promised more reforms, he did not offer any specifics. The United States and Europe have long complained of lingering obstacles to fully entering into Chinese massive market, while the Chinese companies enjoy the benefit of open Western economics abroad. The reform pulled hundreds of millions of people out of poverty and turned China into the world's second biggest economy. But it is currently facing a debt mountain and slowing economy, which grew by 6.9% later this year and is expected by the government to slow to around 6.5% this year. Deng's reform broke with the chaotic policies of his predecessors, Chairman Mao Zedong. Tuesday's ceremony included the awarding of the medals to more than 100 individuals whom the party recognized as a key contributor to the country's development. From people involved in the rural reforms and poverty alleviations to China's richest man Alibaba founder Jack Ma and retired NBA legend Yao Ming. China now boasts the most dollar billionaires in the world with 620. I think China now in a state capitalism under one-party dictatorship or party-run capitalism, he said. Beijing-based political analyst Wu Keng told an AFP. Wu said that the trade war could be a chance for China to enact more changes. If the Communist Party is smart enough, it may transform it into a starting point of a second reform and opening up and change the role of a party and the state. When the party enacted the reform under Deng, China was still suffering from famine and was emerging from the cultural revolutions, a period of intense social and political upheaval launched by Mao. This new revolution started in the countryside, where the authorities began to decultivate land and dismantle communes, but it quickly spread to the cities. Very often opposing power based in economically powerful Shanghai, Deng chose the extreme south of the country as a guinea pig for its reforms. The southern cities, including Shenzhen, which border Hong Kong and was still a fishing village, were designated China's first special economic zone that became the powerhouse and model for the test of the country. Shenzhen has become a global technological hub, with China's internet giant Tencent and telecom titans like Huawei choosing the city for their headquarters. The poverty rate among the rural population dropped to 3.1% last year from 97.5% before 40 years. So what do you think of China's President Xi Jinping himself warning no one can dictate China to say whatever they have to do or not to do, straightly or directly saying to the United States? Please give a thumbs up and follow us on social networks and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. This is WEC Daily. Think big, think different. Bye.